Hey guys, welcome. It is 8.6 video. We're doing law of cosines, and we've seen law of sines, which helps us solve for non-right triangle sides and angles. And cosines got real jealous. He's like, "Where's my law?" And he got one. And so law of cosines is our way of finding sides and angles of non-right triangles using the law of cosines, which is basically using ratios and Pythagorean's theorem together. So what are we writing? Let's get to it. By Chow, essential understanding, if you know the measure of two side lengths and the measure of an included angle, we can use this, or if you know all three sides. So this is an essential understanding you need to write down, and we need to write this whole law down as well. So let's get started. Write this down. Let's get to using it. And our biggest and most important piece is to denote how the equation's written. Yellow was a bad choice. Let's go with blue. 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 Okay, the principle of most important thing to know is when we're looking at the triangle, the angle and its opposite side are related. So we have angle A is opposite of its little side, baby A. And it's the same in the equation, okay? If you have A and big A, they're going to go on opposite sides of the equation, and we fill in the middle with B and C. We're only going to use one angle, but we're going to use all three sides, okay? So that's why it works with SAS. If you know two sides and an angle, then we can find a third angle. Third side. Or if you know all the sides, then you can find an angle. Okay, so let's get to work. Okay, please write this down. We're finding b to the nearest 10. There is no 90-degree angle, which means I cannot use Pythagorean theorem, I cannot use special right triangles, and I cannot use SOHCAHTOA. Also, law of sines doesn't work here either. Law of sines requires opposite angles and opposite sides. So if I want b, I could do sine 44 over b, but then I would need the sine of a or the sine of c to complete this, so it's impossible. Since I know side and its angle opposite, I'm going to use law of cosines, and I'm going to do it like this. The cosine of the angle 44 is going to be on one side of my equation, and then on the other side is going to be b squared, what I don't know. And then I get to fill in the rest with the 10 and the 22. Okay? So this is how we want to set it up. Alright? Just like these are opposites in the picture, they're opposites in the equation. We always take cosines of angles, and that's why it's over there. Okay? Okay. Now, like I said, we're going to take the other two sides, so it's going to be 10 squared plus 22 squared, and again, it doesn't matter the order here, minus 2 times 10 times 22. Okay? Now, this is where Mr. Smith gets kind of particular here. Mr. Smith likes to evaluate this piece and this piece separately, reminding him to subtract those two items at the end. Okay, so grab your calculator, and I'm going to do 10 squared plus 22 squared, and I get 584. Remember, multiplication comes before subtraction. That's why I'm going to do subtraction last here, and subtraction kind of gets really messy. So next I'm going to do 2 times 10 times 22 times cosine of 44. Now you could do this in your calculator all at once, but most of the time it's probably going to make a mistake. So you get 3.16.5. Okay, and we're going to the nearest tenth, but I'm going to throw on a couple extra. I like to usually go out to 4 decimal spots, but my secret is I save it in my calculator. Okay, so I'm going to take this number and subtract this number in my calculator. Watch how I do this. This is already saved in my calculator. So I'm going to do 584 minus the answer. I minus the answer I had from before, and the answer button is right there at the bottom, you hit second to get to it. Hit enter, and now I get b squared equals 267.4904. Again, I like to go 4 decimal spots out. But again, it's already in my calculator. So when I do my last step of square rooting, all I'm going to do is square root this. So I do square root, and I'm going to hit answer. Square root the answer that I had from the previous problem. I hit enter, and I'm going to get b equals 16.35, so I'm going to say that's 16.4. Okay? Boom. Is that logical? As best as I can. 44 is a pretty small angle, but I doubt it's the smallest angle in this triangle, because 44 plus 44 plus 44 would be, you know, pretty close to 180. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's not the smallest, but it's definitely not the largest. So 16 is right in the middle. It seems pretty reasonable to me. Okay. Again, we could do those two parts all at once, but just sometimes in our calculator it makes mistakes, so we do have to be careful. Again, if you can save in the calculator, it's best. Otherwise, we can round out to 4 spots and then at the end round to the nearest 10th. Okay. But the key was remembering that we are looking for these in pieces first. And if we have them, then we fill in the rest of the sides. Pretty plain and simple. Let's take a look at one where we don't have a side angle side setup, like side angle side. Okay, write this down. First thing is I need to draw the triangle for it. So TUV, I don't know what the triangle looks like, so I just go for a basic looking triangle, TUV, and TU is 4.4. UV is 7.1, and TV is 6,7. Okay. Find V to the nearest 10th. So I'm trying to find V to the nearest 10th, and that's X. Okay. So I know all the sides, but I want to set up the equation with the angle on its opposite side. So how do I do that? Well, I'm going to show you. Okay. Again, we want to focus on that one side and that one angle that are opposites. And that's going to be the start of our equation. So we're going to do the cosine of the angle all the way off here to the right. And it's x. And then on the other side, we're going to do 4.4 squared. They have to be on opposite sides of the equation, just like they're on opposite sides of the picture, right? X is across from 44. Then we can fill in the rest with the other two numbers. 6.7 squared plus 7.1 squared minus 2 times 6.7. Ooh, this could be tight. Times 7.1. Ooh, kind of made it. All right. Let's do this. Like I said on the last one, I like to separate these out. I'm going to evaluate this segment and this segment separately. Okay? So, pick up our calculator and let's get to calculating. 6.7 squared plus 7.1 squared. That gives me 95.3. Minus 2 times 6.7 times 7.1. I get 95.14. Okay? And then we have the cosine of x. And over here equals, let's do 4.4 squared. 19.36. Okay. This part becomes tricky for kids. So let's look at an easier problem. Okay? And I'm going to kind of mirror this, if you will. Let's just say this problem was really this problem. Yeah, that's not so bad. Do you kind of see the resemblance? 19.36 is kind of like the 5. 95.3 is kind of like the 2. And 95.14 is kind of like the 4. And then cos x is like the x. So here's the deal. Students will always want to subtract these two blue numbers, but that's impossible. You can't do that. Just like you can't do 2 minus 4. It doesn't work. That's because 4x and 2 are not like denominators. Just like 95.3 and 95.14 cos x are not like numbers. So what I have to do over here is I have to subtract the 2 from both sides, just like that. And then we get 3 equals a negative 4x. That's what I have to do here. Subtract 95.3 from both sides. Okay? Just like a two-step equation. Pick up our calculator, 19.36 minus 95.3. And we're going to get negative 75.94 equals negative 95.14 cos x. Okay, on this equation, I need to go ahead and divide by negative 4. And then I have my answer, right? So same thing here. Divide by negative 95.14. That will cancel that. And then over here, I divide by negative 95.14. So I do that in my calculator. And we get cosine of x equals 0.7981. I like to write out to 4, okay? But I have it in my calculator, don't I? Last step, I need to get rid of the cosine. To do that, I'm going to take the inverse cosine of both sides. On this side, it cancels. This side, I just take the inverse cosine, and I'm doing the inverse cosine of the answer. Pow, enter, and we get x equals about 37 degrees. This seems pretty logical because 37 is a decently small angle, and it's across from 4.4, which is the smallest side length. So it wouldn't be too surprising that it is the smallest angle, 37. Okay? So, a lot of math, but if you can kind of remember that you're really just doing kind of this problem, you're going to do great. If you do the 2 minus 4, you're in trouble. If you subtract these two blue together, you're in trouble. Okay? All right. Cheers. I'm out of here. It's been fun. I'm wearing Aloha Friday shirt. So life doesn't get any better. 8.6 in the books. Have a good summer. Nice fall. You know, whatever. Did you think YouTube froze? It didn't. It was just me. Oh, you saw my eyes move. Dang it. Okay, I'm really going to stop it this time, okay?